Chinese government has two tools to manipulate the people. One is violence, brutality. The other is propaganda.
Democratic countries warn China is carrying out its system of control and censorship worldwide.
The biggest issue of our time, in my view, is China.
For the first time, the FBI and CIA accused China of using a global web of spies and informants to harass, intimidate, and neutralize anyone daring to speak out. Toronto, Canada is a world away from China. When democracy activist Sheng Xue fled here seeking asylum, she believed she was finally free from the watchful eye of Chinese authorities. Now she says she was wrong.
I thought that I escaped from the fear, and I was going to enjoy the freedom, human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. But I realized that they are here. Their people, their network, their power, everything here.
Xue became one of China's loudest critics after witnessing the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, where Chinese leaders ordered the killing of thousands of student democracy demonstrators. Her relentless activism quickly won her international acclaim and China's attention. They threatened to kill her if she didn't stop criticizing China's leaders. Intimidation also went online. Xue was targeted by a vicious smear campaign.
This is a Photoshop.
Her face has been pasted onto hundreds of lurid photos and then posted to escort sites, along with her phone number and address.
They said that I was working for nightclub and I was offering sex service. I receive hundreds of phone calls per day.
Being an insider who knows how China's system of control works. Chen Yongling helped build the country's strategy of crushing dissent abroad. Later, as a high-level diplomat, he put those policies into practice.
Most Chinese immigrants are still scared. Most, because they know the Chinese regime may go to extreme means, beyond extreme.
Teng Biao was one of China's most prominent civil rights lawyers. He fled to New York in 2014, but he says he hasn't escaped China's reach. It's led to threats on his life.
His ID is CCP forever, Chinese Communist Party forever.
And what does it say?
Teng Biao, take care of your life because you will be murdered. It's a direct threat to my life. I live in the United States and it's a free and democratic country, but I can still feel the threat and harassment from Chinese.
Before he fled, he was seized by authorities and tortured 3 times.
I was physically tortured. They beat me.
After Teng Biao left China, authorities turned their attention to his family, refusing to let them leave the country. Fearing they too would be jailed or even tortured, he devised a dangerous plan to get them out.
We decided to smuggle them out. So my wife and my daughter escaped China to Burma and Thailand, and then Laos, and then Thailand again. So it's really risky.
He's documented more than 100 cases he says proves China is spreading its system of control and intimidation globally. He compares China's actions to Nazi Germany.
Some people may think it's unfair to compare China to Nazi Germany, but the current system in China is really close to totalitarianism. The secret police, one-party rule, the total control of society. And internationally, China becomes more and more aggressive.
And now he says China is trying to exert that control on top American institutions.
When I was a visiting scholar at Harvard Law School, I was invited by American Bar Association to write a book to discuss China's legal system, political system, and society through my own experience.
But a month later, Teng Biao says the Bar Association abruptly scrapped the deal. Publicly, the ABA says it didn't think the book would sell. But Teng Biao received an email from the group offering a different explanation.
The reason they gave me over email is they don't want to anger Chinese government. It's the model of liberal democracy, freedom of speech, and ABA helped Chinese government to marginalize me, to silence me.
中共的这个手啊，伸的是非常长。
海外民运的人数，参加坚持下来的人数，持续减少。
Everyone here has had family jailed or threatened in China.
当地的国安也去找过他们，就是想要了解我的情况。
就在 New York 的 Queens， 我儿子在上学路上的照片，中共当局拍了这个照片，他就告诉我，他们随时可以对我家孩子施加不利，传达这种信息，来迫使我就范。
Do you feel safe in the Western world?
有很多眼睛在盯着你。
不会说在美国是绝对安全的。
Or safe anywhere. The group points out several outspoken critics, like Swedish citizen Gui Minhai, have disappeared from Southeast Asia, kidnapped, they say, by Chinese authorities.
我认为我们所期盼的这个情况还会恶化，我们这个反共的异议人士的空间，我认为只会继续恶化，我们的空间只会被打压。
The biggest issue of our time, in my view, is China and the risks they pose. I'm not sure in the 240-some-odd-year history of this nation we've ever faced a competitor and potential adversary of this scale, scope, and capacity.
One of the things we're trying to do is view the China threat as not just a whole-of-government threat, but a whole-of-society threat. It is something that we're watching warily.
One of the most pressing threats, says the FBI, is on American campuses. At the University of Massachusetts in Boston, we're invited to a Chinese New Year's celebration put on by the Confucius Institute. China spends an estimated $10 billion a year running 500 of these centers in universities globally, staffing them with Chinese government-approved teachers. But Chinese government defector Chen Yongling says they are tools for propaganda and censorship.
On campus, on the whole society, it can build up friendly network to China. They can influence the future generations of the Western countries. Politically sensitive topics are banned. Topics like Falun Gong, democracy and freedom, human rights in China, all banned.
Inside, protesters have a different view.
I find it outrageous that a foreign government, especially one like the Chinese government, which is one of the most oppressive regimes in the world, is dictating and deciding what American students are learning on campus.
Every university that agrees to host a Confucius Institute must sign a contract with the Chinese government. After weeks of requests, the protesters got hold of UMass Boston's deal. It reveals a clause that worries them. The institute must adhere to Chinese law.
I'm shocked to see UMass Boston, a state institution, is agreeing to follow rules and regulations of Chinese Communist Party, and it's compromising people's freedom of speech in this country.
It's just showing that, the Chinese government soft power is rising year by year, and it's very scary.
The agreement with the Confucius Institutes, does that mean that there is a degree of censorship?
I think I'd have to research it a little more. So if you understand what I mean, I feel like we're getting into a territory that I need to understand a little bit more what you're questioning me about.
Last week, I wrote a letter about the Confucius Institutes, which are funded by Chinese government dollars at U.S. schools. And it is my view that they're complicit in these efforts to covertly influence public opinion and to teach half-truths designed to present Chinese history, government, or official policy in the most favorable light.
Back in New York, we meet up again with blogger Wen Chao. In 2016, he says he was writing commentary critical of China when he became the target of one of the largest online attacks ever recorded on an individual in the U.S.
1个小时2个 G， 1天就将近100个 G。
The volume of incoming data shut down the internet in his New York neighborhood. So big, the FBI's cyber unit took notice. After facing a number of such attacks, Wen Chao was called before Congress to testify.
我认为攻击方含有政治目的，攻击水平非常高，极有可能来自于政府背景的行为。
Following the testimony, Wen says U.S. authorities expressed concern for his safety.
美国政府方面也曾经询问过我，需不需要给我提供特殊的保护？我说不用。但是我发现我家附近的警车的巡逻的次数明显多了很多，并且有一辆警车经常停在我家的附近。
When the cyber attacks didn't stop Wen Chao's writing, he says Chinese authorities grabbed his parents and younger brother.
生气说不上，是一种很无奈的感觉。我没想到他们用那么糟糕的手段来对付我。这个。
Wen sent details of the attack to a specialized cyber unit at the University of Toronto. The Citizen Lab is a group of anti-hackers who expose state-sanctioned cyber espionage.
There's no doubt in my mind that the Chinese government is, I would say, relentless in terms of its targeting of civil society groups abroad that they consider to be adversaries.
Over the past decade, Diebert says he's watched China become more sophisticated in controlling the online sphere.
Here is a Canadian-based account of WeChat, one of the most popular social media chat applications that's based in China.
He and his team demonstrate how China blocks information of sensitive topics from being shared globally.
So if I say something regular like hello in English, it'll get through just fine, and you would be able to see that. If I switch to Chinese input...
He then types in the name of a religious group banned in China.
Falun Dafa. I send it.
Nothing appears on my device. So if we're having a conversation and it just doesn't appear, that's a really insidious form of censorship.
The Citizen Lab has uncovered tens of thousands of words and phrases that are blocked.
There is targeting of images in messaging applications.
Again, they show us how this works.
I select a controversial photo, such as this one of Xi Jinping. Now the photo will show up, but for maybe about 10 or so seconds, the photo will get deleted.
I'm pretty pessimistic about the landscape overall and the trend lines. If you look at some of the core elements of liberal democracy and how they're being subtly eroded, and how alternative models that are non-democratic are actually flourishing in the current communications environment, it really gives me pause. It makes me greatly concerned.
The Cold War has never stopped.
With his insider's knowledge, Chen says China sees itself at war with the West. A war of ideology that it believes it can win.
The Chinese care more about if China is superpower, is control. That's what China care. China care about its position, its power.